Okay, everyone, welcome to the Strategy Sherpa Show. This is David Chavez, and I have a special show for you today. Not only did I didn't bring somebody onto the show, I brought the most important people in my life onto the show, and all the coaches from Assured Strategy are here. I think we're missing one or two, but we have them here to talk about some of our clients. We're not going to tell you their names, but we're going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that we've had helping them and what we did to help them and how they overcame some of those challenges, just to give you a different perspective from our side of what we see out there commonly out in the marketplace. So let me introduce everybody to you. So let's start off with Kane. Kane, do you want to give a quick introduction? What's your background? How long you've been with us? Things like that.
Sure. My name is Kane Petkovich, and I have been knowing David and working with him since 2014 when he was actually the executive coach for my company. He came in to teach us how to scale up our business. And in the context of that relationship, we began to work together more professionally in 2015. So I've been with Assured Strategy since then. And my background is really more in behavioral health, working as a therapist originally, and then in executive management for the majority of my career till I joined Sure Strategy. So I'm really excited to talk about some of the challenges with leadership and operations.
Yeah, don't let Kane diminish herself at all, because she's developed our leadership training program. She developed a lot of our coaching programs and everything. So she's quite an amazing part of the team and very instrumental in what we're doing today. So thank you, Kane. Ted,
Mhm.
give an introduction if you would, please.
Yeah, so I'm Ted Sarvata. I've been with Assured Strategy about 6 years, but I've been coaching for about 13. And that's when I met David, was when I became a coach, and we have always been friends and joined the team. And before that, I was working in a startup that was using some of the tools that we teach now, although not nearly as effectively as most of our clients today.
Yeah, and I see you have some masterpieces behind you from your kids when they were younger. And I love that you keep those up just to keep that reminder of when they're young.
They're 15 now, so yeah, it's a
Yeah,
lot.
exactly. So I know they're older. All right, Warren, introduce yourself if you would, please.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Warren Sager, and I've been a coach at Assured Strategy a little under 2 years now. And formerly, I am a CEO entrepreneur myself, and I'd scaled and sold many businesses over the years and made a lot of mistakes like most CEOs do. So that's why I love the show, actually. And now my goal is to figure out how to help other CEOs not make some of the mistakes that I made. And that's why I became a coach.
Yeah, those of you who have watched the show or listened to the show a little bit, we just had the CEO from Moxie on not too long ago, and Warren was the one who recommended him to me, and he was just a fantastic guest. Warren, we really enjoyed having him on. And matter of fact, I would probably say that was probably one of the great shows that's going to go down in the Strategy Sherpa Show history.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, Moxie is a great company, and Charlie Davis is a really great CEO.
Yeah, Charlie, he's awesome. Just it was awesome. All right, LJ, introduce yourself if you would, please.
Absolutely. I'm Lisa Jane Vargas, and I've been with Assured Strategy as a coach for about almost 2 years. And I've known David for a little longer than that.
About
And
5 or 6 years, huh?
yeah, part of my career includes working in finance and hospitality and health and fitness, and about 25 years in the behavioral health field as well. Mostly on the business side, and ended up there in that corporate career as in the C-suite, and then went out on my own and have my own business, and just really enjoyed doing the coaching and leadership training primarily here at Assured Strategy. I lived it, breathed it, and now I get to work with others around those topics. So
Yeah, that's one of the great things about LJ is she's done a lot of the work with us and then came into the group, and now she's actually helping other people with it. So it's just pretty fascinating to have you here, and thank you for coming into the show today. And we saved the best for last, Michelle. That's the only way I could say it at this point. So share a little bit about you and how long you've been here and how we met.
So hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Barry, and I've been here for almost a month. It's one of the most moving and important months of my life. I say that not only in jest. I've spent the past 19 years and still am as a Vistage chair, working with CEOs and C-suite executives of small to mid-sized and even some large organizations, helping them learn and grow, become better leaders who make better decisions and get better results. And so what I love about the opportunity to bring that background and to bring those skills here to the Assured Strategy team is to work together and collaboratively to bring these things to life and to help really in depth with a lot of leaders in our client organizations. It's just really exciting and a great team to be a part of.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you. I love it. Your business acumen is so strong. It's just it's been amazing meeting you, getting to know you a little bit, and then bringing you onto the team. And we're really excited to have you here. And we look forward to you working with some of our largest clients, because you'll definitely be able to help them quite a bit in the strategy, execution, cash, and people sense. So we're looking forward to that. And right now, Michelle is just working on getting certified with Scaling Up. Warren, Ted, and I are all Scaling Up coaches. And then Lisa, Jane, and Kane are our people experts. So they handle a lot of the people side of the business. So great. So what I want to do with everyone is I want to talk a little bit about some of the challenges our clients. So on the Strategy Sherpa Show, what we do, and you guys are aware of it, but I want to make sure the audience is too. What we do is we talk about decisions that went wrong, right? Part of growing a company is that there's a lot of wrong decisions that end up being made. How did we what were the circumstances when we made that decision? Why did we make the decision we made? Because when we made it, we thought it was the best decision known to man, right? And then what ended up happening, it went awry, right? Everything went the other way. And we're like, boy, that was not a great decision in the end. Hindsight's always 2020. And so what we'll do is we share that on the show so that people can understand that part of growing a scaling company is mistakes. And it's really important to have those mistakes because, as one of the guests said recently, you know what? I think I actually learned how to be an entrepreneur through my mistakes. And I loved when he said it that way because it really helps people understand that the mistakes are part of the game. And although they hurt sometimes, they're part of the game. So I thought, hey, let's get all the coaches together and talk about some of the mistakes we've seen. And then how did we help the clients get through some of those mistakes? So I don't know who wants to go first, but we can arm wrestle, or we could just pick somebody. Who wants to go first?
I'm happy to start off with the leadership stuff, unless we want to start off in the other area.
Oh, no. Go for it.
Well, I think one of the biggest mistakes that got me personally in, working with you at all, David, in this whole field was the fact that our company invested quite significantly in growth, right? We brought in an executive coach, we implemented Scaling Up, we were doing all of this great work at the executive level. And we did not, I think, appreciate or understand the importance of getting the middle leaders into alignment with what we were trying to do at the executive level. And so we spent a lot of time and energy working in a small group, but we never actually had a cohesive way of training down and teaching down and pushing down the empowerment with the middle leaders in order to actually implement the strategic execution strategies that were being discussed from both the strategy perspective as well as the execution of that strategy. So I think the lack of understanding the significance and what we really needed for all of the leaders in a company to get involved in change was a huge mistake. And I think that's really what propelled you and I beginning to work together. And we can talk more about that later in terms of different programs. But that, for me, was the biggest aha in getting to know you and working at the executive level with the Scaling Up material.
Yeah, I love that you say that, Kane, because I say there's two driving problems in really growing companies, right? Processes that don't exist or that are not being used anymore because they were set for a smaller company and now they've grown and the processes just don't work anymore. And then the other issue that we run into probably on most every client we work on is the lack of leadership in the middle management area. There's just a real gap there. And what ends up happening is the executive team could be doing all this great thinking and have all these great objectives, but working it through the company, if they don't have a strong foundation of the next level down, it just stops, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think what we found, at least for me personally, was that we all understood the material differently. And therefore, we were teaching our own leaders below us differently without any sort of cohesion. And we were learning some basic things. I mean, I'd been an executive director and worked in business for years and years, and I was still learning from you what the difference to strategy was versus execution, right? Strategic execution, strategy. We all had these terms mixed up in our head. So just the fundamental understanding of business was at different levels, even though you call yourself an executive team. And we were all doing everything completely differently with no cohesion. So that was really the aha for me regarding implementing and investing in.
I can just add to that, Kane, from what I've seen in organizations that are big enough to have middle management, is that the age and experience level of middle managers now is younger than ever before. Because of the baby boomers retiring, right? So you look at the CEO, then you look at the C-suite below the CEO. Most people who are VPs now are VPs at younger ages with less years of tenure than ever before. And that difference pushes through all the way down. So you have people currently in middle management who have nowhere near the level of experience as middle managers used to have. So it just augments the need to really accelerate their growth and development so that your business can keep up with where you're trying to go strategically.
Love it. Anybody else have anything to add on this? Because this is a pretty important thing, what we're talking about right now.
I do, kind of tag teaming on all that is the idea or the culture of communication or lack of communication. And what I've noticed in some situations is the natural culture is to not speak up or not confront because we are afraid of confrontation or how the feelings might occur and things like that. So, but really it's kind of the opposite, you know, like we want to have healthy conflict. We want to have that open communication. And we were actually talking about it a little bit earlier today, how, you know, different styles of communication is important to understand as well. So that's
it. I think you're really hitting on it, LJ, really well. Thank you, Kane, for that. Thank you for everybody that gave a little input there. We're going to take a break because this is a live radio show and we do have commercials that come on. So we're going to take a little break. This is the Strategy Sherpa Show, and I have the Strategy Sherpa team with me, and we're here talking about some of the things we run into with clients. So we're going to take a really quick break, and we'll be right back. So welcome back to the Strategy Sherpa Show, and today I'm very humbled because I have quite a few of our coaches here with me, and we're all talking about some of the challenges we see with our clients with scaling their company and some of the mistakes that they made. And Kane just shared a really good one with us. I don't think they fully understand what she said of the impact of the middle leaders not really ever being trained in leadership. And how we end up with these people is they're great tradespeople. And as we're scaling and growing the company, we promote them. But the one thing we forget to do is teach them how to be leaders and really take some of that responsibility and accountability on. So thank you, Kane, for sharing that right before the break. Who wants to go next?
I do.
All right. Ted.
Yeah, I want to jump in on this whole idea of communicating and people being afraid to say what needs to be said for all kinds of reasons. So I have a story where one of the executives on the team, some things weren't going right in his life. And people saw things over the course of probably 6 months. Like they went to a trade show and he just disappeared and was gone for like 8 hours and nobody knew where he was. But nobody said anything, including to the CEO. because we're being nice to each other, cover it up. It's like, well, he probably had a good reason, but nobody said anything. Well, several incidents like this happened, and we ended up at an executive retreat, and I'm not going to get into the details, but it turned out that he had some pretty serious issues that needed to be handled by professionals, mental health professionals, substance abuse professionals. And it came out that every single person on that team had a story about this person that they hadn't shared with each other. And so they hadn't put the details together. And this is a person with 3 little kids who needs to take care of his family, but he can't work in this business, not behaving this way. And so when it came to the point of taking care of the situation, when they finally got to the root of it, well, they put him on medical leave. They did the right thing. They sent him to help. They gave him the help that he needed, but it's up to him then to take care of what he's going to do. And it turned out that he didn't come back. He didn't come back to that business. And it's a shame, right? It's a shame because he had a lot to offer. The business is better off now because they did the right thing. Once it finally came to a head, they acted quickly and they solved the problem in that moment. They promoted somebody within into that position, they worked through it. They worked through it very well together, but they really noticed months and months and months of things that they could have been sharing with each other that they hadn't.
Wow, that's impactful. And you can all see how much confidentiality is in us. We're very confidential about our clients. We don't even really talk about them that much with each other unless we need help with something's sticking us or something, because we like to keep the client's confidential stuff confidential as much as we possibly can. But Ted, right now, we're not going to give the client names. What ended up happening? Was it a substance abuse problem?
I believe it was.
Okay. And so you never really found out, but they went and got help. And so because they finally started talking about it, they could actually get that person some help.
That's right. And the reason I don't know all the answers is, of course, confidentiality back the other way too, because the once the referral is made, then the medical people need to do what they need to do. It just turned out that this person never came back to the company.
Yeah. And so does anybody have anything to add or a similar type of situation that has happened with one of their clients?
I would say far less dire than the sort of personal tragedy that could have wound up to be, are the sort of everyday business problem solving lack of communication and hesitancy to disagree with one another, particularly if it's somebody who's in a position higher up the food chain, right? And the problem with that is then you don't get the best ideas on the table, and so whoever's the loudest voice in the room might get the ideas pushed through, but that doesn't make it the best idea. That just makes it the loudest idea. So it's really, really critical to help leadership teams and all throughout down the whole organization really bring up the topics that need to be spoken of, whether it's a workplace safety issue or a strategic opportunity or doing the right thing for a customer, whatever it is. Once you learn how to speak straight in your organization, you can't imagine going back. But until you learn how, you can't imagine doing it, right?
I love the way you just said that, because that's really powerful. Because I will tell you, we do get resistance when we're trying to teach people this. Is that a fair comment, everybody?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have this saying that people have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. We say that all the time to clients.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and it's easy to judge, right? And criticize and condemn. And then that puts us in certain positions and roles, and we might not really understand our teammates. But when we apply some of the tools that we teach to get to know our teammates better and from their strengths and weaknesses, it cuts that out. It really cuts that down, not completely. I mean, it takes a while to learn all that and practice it, but it can turn teams around like 180 and for the better. And I've seen it happen.
Right. We have a lot of stories about companies that are sort of growing a little bit, that just start taking off when they do this. And we just had a client that Ted and I were just sharing some time with them. They had, what was the percentage increase in their revenue? I think it was 33%. But this is we're talking about like 7 or 8 digit numbers, 8 digit numbers actually. And when you get up into those 8 digits, a 33% growth is astronomical. I mean, the growth was, I think it was a little over 15 million, right, Ted? We were on that, and that's a lot, and that's a lot of change, and a lot of change in 1 year, right? So there's a lot that goes on with that. I love the comments. So thank you, Ted, for sharing that with us. And I think that, I do have a client story around this too. I helped a client go from 23 million to 67 million, worked with them for 3 years doing that. And unfortunately, the CEO had a substance abuse problem. The company is now gone, but this company had so much potential. It could have probably been at $1 billion right now if it wasn't for that substance abuse problem. And you know what? One of the sad parts is, who the only one who was talking to him about it was me. And when everybody else started talking to him about it, he started to realize what it was. It was too late then. The company was already too gone by that time. So, and he couldn't ever get it back even after he went through the process of helping himself. So very important. It's very important you stay away from these
much
types of
happier
things.
ending story of learning how to speak straight. One of my clients had a supervisor in the construction adjacent realm, had a supervisor that the entire leadership team believed had the phenomenal relationship with their number one client. And the supervisor's behavior was toxic to employees, but they believed that this supervisor was critical to the client relationship and was half the company's revenue. I mean, half of their revenue. But we had this meeting and we had this mantra: no sacred cows, no sacred cows. We're going to live up to our values, no sacred cows. So they sort of, tighten up, and they looked at each other like, you guys, we have to do it. We have to confront this supervisor. We have to be direct with them. So they did. The supervisor ended up quitting in a huff. Come to find out, client hated him. Client hated him. Hated him. Told them, oh my God, we're
such
so
a common
glad we
story.
finally got rid of this guy. So not only that, but the client then gave them significantly more business because they liked the other people they were working with so much more. So they were about 12 million at that time. And this was, maybe 10 years ago. At this point, they're in the 500, 800 million range.
Nice.
So they are significantly grown, but that was a turning point for their leadership team to really embrace bringing their values to life all the time, no matter the perceived risk. We have to live our values. And they got known for that in their industry. They got known for that amongst employees, people looking for jobs, amongst customers, and that has propelled them to success. And they use that as a turning point in their organization.
It's great how you're saying it too, because there's so many things that we block ourselves with in our own minds, right? And that's some of the work that we do, is we help people see some of these things so they can actually move past them, because that blocker ended up being a blocker to their growth, actually, when they thought it was going to be a hindrance to their growth by moving on from this person. Great story. I don't know if that was your input, or do you if you have something else even. So we have, I think there's 3 of you here that haven't shared anything yet. Do any of you want to share?
I will in a minute, but I want to piggyback off what Michelle was talking about.
Yes, please.
We hear all the time this whole idea: if you got an employee or someone on the team that's a challenge, or not living up to the core values, and after you do all the things you need to do to try to get them right, then all of a sudden you do ultimately maybe let them go. Everyone always says, what took you so long? So this whole idea of sometimes, that you got to do things faster and have those conversations and make those decisions in a faster way. No one ever says, oh man, we should have, kept them longer. It's always, we should have let them go sooner.
Right. And I think what really is challenging a lot of times, Warren, is we know their families. You know them personally. They know your family. You know, there's a lot of things that come into play, what makes these decisions really, really challenging when you're in the moment and it's hard to see. And that's what coaches do. We really help people see the things that they can't see. And we give them a different perspective because we just ask hard questions and challenge their beliefs. And what we end up doing is helping them get unstuck from things that are blocking them from getting the results that they're trying to get. Fair
And
way
to
of
be
saying
fair,
it?
in my client situation, they did not fire him. They dealt with him directly. He quit in a huff because he didn't want to change to live up to their values and their principles.
Yeah, that's great. So we're at a time break, guys. This is a live radio show and we do have bills to pay. So we're going to take a few commercials here and we'll be right back. This is a Strategy Sherpa Show. This is David Chavez with the Strategy Sherpa team. And we're here talking about some of our clients. We'll be right back. It's the Strategy Sherpa Show. This is David Chavez and I have the whole Assured Strategy team with me today. And we thought it would be a really great show to share some of the insights we get from working with clients, some of the challenges that they're experiencing, and how we help them get past some of these challenges so they could move their company on to something else. And Michelle, I think you have something you're ready to share. So we'll just go and have you go.
Sure. So this is a client that I've been working with for a long time. When I first started working with him, he had no plans. He was not even in his own location. He was renting space from another company, and his big goal, his 10-year goal, which he thought was just a dream, was to have his own physical location for his organization. So we had a person come in to talk about Vern Harnish and the Rockefeller habits and scaling up, and we agreed this would be a great method to use in his organization. So we began the scaling up strategy and the model and doing the weekly meetings and the monthly and the quarterly. So his first 10-year goal at that point was to have his own physical location, which he had in 9 years. And looking back, right before COVID hit and shutdown hit, he looked back and he realized every single goal that he'd already met. And so we were just scheduling the next opportunity to get together and really think big about where he wanted to go, 10, 15 years from now, when the quarantine happened. And he abandoned all of the planning and all of the weekly meetings and all that just to firefight, right? Just to get through. Well, 3 years almost later, this past fall, we were in an executive coaching session. And I asked him how things have been going, because it's been a while since I've heard about any of his weekly meetings or his plans. Right. And he's like, there's a reason you haven't heard about the weekly meetings and the monthly meetings and the quarterlies and the annuals. It's because there haven't been any. I'm like, what? That was such a successful model. And he's like, it really was. I said, well, how's the company been performing? He said, well, to be fair, we made it through COVID. I'm like, yay. And he said, but we have been stagnant the entire time. And he's like, and I want to get moving. And I just don't feel like we can do it if we don't bring back the scaling up approach and bring back the way of executing, because we're not doing anything but the day-to-day on our own. We're just not, we can't think of it that way. We need that help to really take a look at the business and figure out, where do we really want to go? And what do we really need to prioritize to get there? And that was, to me, so we had a meeting in the fall, and they're going to do another, annual meeting this spring, and get them sort of, the meeting in the fall was to get them rebooted, if you will, a post-COVID do-over. But, yeah. It's like, he realized it's like, we can't stop. You can never stop doing what it really takes to run a company really well, because as soon as you stop doing it, things just stagnate.
Yeah, it drops quickly. And for him, now he spent 3 years and he could have been advancing his company quite a bit, and he will again too.
Oh,
because
they're on the move.
Yeah, and what scaling up really says about this, and we talk quite a bit about this, is less is more, right? a lot of times we set like 20 priorities when it needs to be 3 things you're really focusing your attention on. And what you have to do is shoo away all the flies. We're just doing 3 right now, right?
Yep.
And as entrepreneurs, we only want 400 things being done at once. And I don't get 400 things. I only get 3 or 4. And when I figure out what the 3 or 4 most important things are, which scaling up methodology helps you think about, and it's also a good coach that's asking those hard questions and challenging those beliefs, that really brings out that plan to what they really can achieve.
But I think, everybody has awesome intentions, right? So everybody at his company was working really hard on things they thought were really important. Mm-hmm. It's just that when you take a whole company full of people, every single one is going to define what's really important differently.
Yeah.
And so then you've got everybody sort of doing something really important in their mind, but it's not necessarily brought together to really move the company forward as an entire organization.
Yeah. Does anybody have anything on that? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Kane. Go for it. Come on.
No, I was just going to say, Michelle, I think that's one of the most important things that leaders need to do is set that alignment for the organization. And so part of the work of the senior team and then trickle down across all the leaders is being able to create that alignment for your staff, because otherwise the staff will come in and just do the very best they can, but they're not all going in the same direction.
They're good people and they're working hard.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. Oh, it's so true. I always say it's entrepreneurism is like there's different stages where you have to have different things that you're doing, and we all get in the we're dedicated to what we're doing. We'll work 20 hours if we have to work 20 hours, but that's not going to lead to a very healthy life in the end. So doing this stuff can really clean up some of those issues. So it's great. Thank you. So Warren, LJ, who wants to go first? You're the last 2.
Ready, LJ? You want me to go?
Well, I've just been really talking. I'll go.
I think she answered your question, right?
Concepts that I've been noticing, but one of the things that is a kind of a consistent theme with clients that I've worked with is this belief or habit, let's call it, or patterns of the CEO or owner of the company getting into the weeds, into the day-to-day where they need not be. And that can cause a lot of mistakes and challenges, and they might not even know it. And again, like this, we're kind of holding the mirror up saying, this is what's going on. And they might even push back and argue, kind of be okay for a while and kind of take the path that we're helping them on. And then they might fall back. And that's like normal, natural behavior, right? But that seems to be a challenge I see quite often. And so we can talk about, where are you spending your time? And is it more big picture strategic planning, thinking with the things that we teach? Or are you is there control wanted or needed, where they need to be in that day-to-day and having, those one-off meetings when their managers need to be having those meetings, those kinds of things. So that's kind of a big picture concept of what I see consistently. And it's doable to work through and come through to the other side. And I've seen it. And when these leaders share how the transition and change has happened for them, there is freedom. They talk, you can hear it, you can see it in their body language and the way they're sharing what they're working on now and the goals that they're working on. They have better time for things. It's really amazing when it happens. So yeah.
And LJ, I think, oh, sorry, go ahead, Warren.
Yeah, I was going to say, as you're saying that, what happens all the time is these leaders think they're actually helping their team and supporting them. What they're really doing is constraining them or holding them back. And once they let go and let everyone breathe, it's amazing how much more that can happen and what people are able to accomplish.
I know I'll go, Crane, and then I'll go after you because go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that, oftentimes I think that there's a lot of fear regarding, not only giving up the control, but a lack of trust that and the empowerment to allow people to make mistakes because they view mistakes as bad. And so there's a whole culture of a lack of, letting people do their job and then holding them accountable to their job, and that micromanagement and the lack of delegation. I mean, you talk top, bottom, all of the different, topics that we train on, all those issues are going on a lot of times primarily around some concept of fear.
Yeah, and I would just say that a lot of times when this is going on, it is, and what I see a lot is it's not always the leader that's causing the issue. It could be the employees causing some of the issue too. So it's good to look at all the different aspects of like what's causing the control. And one of the things I say to entrepreneurs when I speak to entrepreneurial groups or CEO groups that we're talking to is that it's really easy to grow a company with control, because when we start a company, we're going to do it better than anyone else. And that control gets the company going, right? But at a certain point, it actually becomes the barrier to growth. Mm-hmm. So LJ, I love that you're bringing up this topic, because when we go into companies, one of the biggest issues we see are the leaders are stopping the growth through control. And it's interesting because when we're trying to help people, sometimes we get resistance from them. And when we're getting resistance, what ends up happening, it's happened a few times where there's some kind of catalyst that takes the senior leader out, right? Like they're sick or something happens or some family issue happens or some life issue takes them away from the business a little bit. And then they're gone for a month or two. And then when they come back, everything's still working. And they're like, I really don't need to be involved in all this, do I? And so that epiphany that happens. So Warren, we got about a minute before the break. Why don't you share your story a little bit right before the break, and then we'll come back and digest it afterwards.
Great idea. So I thought long and hard about a great story that I think will work here. And this whole idea of a company that I was working with, that after working with them for a couple of quarters, we usually work on these 90-day sprints to move things along with the business, something that's, something you could digest. And
13-week race, right?
13-week race, yeah. After they did that a few times, they were doing okay, but they really weren't getting the results that they were looking for. And so all of a sudden we said, well, why not? Well, every time we would talk about what should have happened or what we wanted to see happen, everyone gave a reason why this didn't happen or that didn't happen. And it made sense. So like, oh, okay, that sounds reasonable. But there wasn't really a good, strong sense of accountability to get those results and what those specific results were. So that was the challenge. And boy, we coaches, right? You see this all the time, this overall lack of accountability with the team and individuals. And so we had to work on figuring out how to bring accountability back into the organization.
And we'll talk about that right after the break. I hate to interrupt you, but we have a hard break and we got to take this break. So this is Strategy Sherpa Show. This is David Chavez. We'll be right back after this break. All right. This is David Chavez. This is the Strategy Sherpa Show, and we're back. And we were just talking to Warren about accountability. And I want to bring back something Kane said a little bit earlier because it's so important. Micromanagement, accountability. These two terms get mixed up a lot. Micromanagement is when I'm standing over the top of you and telling you how to do something. Accountability and micromanagement is not asking what's going on and how are you doing. I think that we get mixed up sometimes when we're asking, hey, how's it going? What's going on? That's not micromanagement. Knowing what's going on is not micromanagement. That's accountability. Not telling people how to do it, that is where the micromanagement part comes in. Oh, you have to do this way. This has to be done that way. And never can the person use their imagination or gifts to solve the issue. They have to solve it the way the micromanager is telling them to solve it. Right. So I just wanted to clear that up a little bit, but let's get into it a little bit, Warren. So what did you do to help this person? So you probably have a client in mind that you were thinking of. Yep. What did you have to do to help them through?
So we brought up this whole idea of job scorecards, which is creating very specific, guidelines for these roles. One, so what is a job scorecard? What's the why behind the job? What is the job supposed to accomplish? What are the requirements, the specific tasks and things they need to do? But the most important thing then is the KPIs, key performance indicators, the things that we're actually measuring so they can know, are they doing a great job? Are they hitting their numbers? Are they making things happen? But that was the first thing. So after you create these job scorecards, and you want to create them with the team so there's buy-in. If you just say, well, this is what you do, and you just shove it down people's throats, it's not the same as them having ownership of it. So once you get that ownership and you collaboratively come up with these job scorecards, then you need to make sure everyone, of course, learns them and uses them. And the meeting rhythms, which is something we also teach, right, is the way where these come alive, where you hold people accountable, there's transparency, people reporting, they're saying when there's a challenge or they're stuck. So you don't get to the end of that 13-week race at a quarter and they realize they missed it. But we would know each week and every week how they're doing towards that. And that's what really brings the accountability to life. So I'm sure you guys got great thoughts on things you talk about or see around this idea of accountability.
Yeah, most definitely.
Big topic.
All this. Yeah. One of the last things we wanted to do on the show today is we wanted to talk a little bit about one of our clients, and it's a larger client and that we do quite a bit of work with. And LJ, I'll let you take it from there because we're not going to divulge who the client is, but they are in manufacturing. So we'll just let the audience know that.
Sure. Well, I came on as the third coach to this account. And since we've been working with them for 5 years or so, I believe it is, and they have seen tremendous success and return and results. And so I came in, almost a year ago as a leadership coach, training coach, and been working with the middle leaders, those who are in management or heading into management. And it's been such a delight working with them. They're just like sponges, absorbing all this material, and some of it more than others topics. We do it for a year, and now actually it's going to be a rolling program. But what I wanted to say was, this is a differentiator or something that we do here at Assured Strategies, because we have a team of coaches and we all have different strengths and weaknesses that we can bring to a client. And what's been happening with this client now is how can we help them integrate the executive level learnings that they've had over the years with the middle managers, and then the middle managers, sending it down to their teams, and really providing this integrated model and approach so that they can grow even more. So that's kind of my piece of this. And then I'm working with Kane and Ted on this as well. So I don't know if you guys wanted to jump in.
Yeah. Well, I go ahead, Ted. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things that I find I do most often with this particular client, right, is I'm checking in with the other coaches that are working so I know issues that are going on. And then I am saying things that seem a little provocative to the CEO in executive meetings. And so part of my job is to have the CEO get a little angry with me sometimes, or get a little defensive, or feel like I don't do this on purpose. Like I want her to be defensive, but I want to bring up things to her that I'm seeing or that we're hearing, so that her team members start to see it's safe. Even when she gets angry with me, even when we have a little bit of a tiff in a meeting, we're over it in like 5 minutes, and it's fine. Because again, we talked earlier in this show about people not wanting to say things because they don't want to hurt their feelings, or they don't want to be on the receiving end of anger. You know what? It doesn't hurt ultimately. The anger doesn't hurt us. In a meeting, when people talk to each other and it seems a little bit angry. And so I become the punching bag for the CEO because I bring stuff up that other people aren't willing to do. And then once it's all over, I say, hey guys, look, I'm right here. I'm not dead. I'm not injured. I'm not in the hospital. I'm okay. You can do it too. And so this is a place where I get a lot of information from LJ or from our other coaches, because all different areas of the business, they give feedback, and then I feed it back to the CEO.
I would just tell you that, like, as leader at the top, it's very lonely, and you've heard this before, and it truly is true. But if your team is giving you the real feedback, it takes away some of that loneliness, because the loneliness part is you're not getting feedback on the things you're not doing well. So I love this conversation. I know others have input on this. So Kane, Michelle, Warren, anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say before we get off this client, if we back it up another level, right? You came in first with this client, David, and did some specific kind of moving them through a lot of stuck and challenge. And then after a time, the need for the different type of facilitator and different type of executive coach changed, which is then when Ted came in, right? And so you and I had worked on this client a little bit together, me doing leadership training, and you doing the executive work. And then now it's Ted and Lisa Jane. And I think that's some of the beauty of this group, is that clients need different things at different times of their business growth and business development, and different times in their team work that they do together, and in the different types of concepts that they're wanting to implement and push down in the organization. So when you have different people with different backgrounds, you can put in the right person for the right area that the company needs. And I think that, not to correct you, LJ, four of us, all like there's been so many, right? Right? There's like so many beautiful souls that have been helping this client along the way, and they're just really reaping the benefits.
Yeah.
And along those lines, they probably weren't ready for 4 people year one, right? So, the stages of the client's growth and development warrants different, services or coaches.
Yeah. We only have about a minute left here, so I hate to interrupt you, but they were actually wanting leadership training right at first, and we told them no. We wouldn't do it because, first of all, they really couldn't afford it. And second of all, it wouldn't have provided any value until we had some vision of where we were taking the company. And they didn't understand that at the time, but they definitely understand it now. The CEO has actually said, thank you for not selling me something I didn't need. And that's exactly right. They did not need it at that time. Well, guys, all good things come to an end. We only get a little bit of time on this show. I know we could go on forever, so we're going to do this again. I think we're going to try to do it every month or two, just to bring back some of the things that we are discovering out of clients. I think the show will be very useful for people to listen to and sort of understand that they're not alone. So thank you for joining me. This is the Strategy Sherpa Show, and we have a lot of events. These wonderful people put on webinars, workshops, live workshops that we do. You can get on assuredstrategy.com/events, or you can just click on the events when you get to assuredstrategy.com, and it'll share with you all the events. We try to do a couple of events every month if it's not a webinar or a workshop. The next live workshop we have Kane's doing in Phoenix in a couple of weeks, and it's about implementing change into your company. Then we have a couple of scaling up workshops over the next year, and I think the next one is in Austin in late March. So if you're looking at scaling up and you're interested in doing it, please join us. This is Strategy Sherpa Show. This is David Chavez and the rest of Assured Strategy team. Thank you for joining us.